Imagine a creature so intelligent, so powerful, and so fearless that it has survived for thousands of years, outliving predators, adapting to brutal environments, and even outsmarting humans. A beast with razor-sharp tusks that never stop growing, a mind that strategizes in battle, and a body built for pure survival. This is the wild boar, a relentless warrior of the animal kingdom, a creature of legend, and an unstoppable force of nature. But what if I told you there is more to boars than just brute strength? That these animals are shaping entire ecosystems, engineering forests, and even changing the way scientists understand wildlife intelligence. That their battles are not just for survival, but for dominance, legacy, and the right to reproduce. What if I told you that some boars do not just live for a few years, but for decades, defying the odds, escaping hunters, and leaving behind a trail of mystery? This is a world of secret lives, hidden battles, and untold stories, where the fiercest warriors do not wear armor, but tusks. Where survival is a game of intelligence, not just aggression. Where an animal many consider a pest is actually one of the most fascinating, strategic, and misunderstood creatures on the planet. But here is the real question. Are boars thriving, or are they on the verge of disappearing forever? What is causing their populations to explode in some places while they vanish in others? And could we one day wake up to a world where wild boars are nothing more than a memory? Stay with me, because what you are about to discover will change the way you see this creature forever. This is the untold truth about wild boars, and it starts now. Number 1, the daily battle, predators and survival strategies. Boars exist in a world where every day is a battle for survival. These rugged, intelligent creatures are constantly hunted by some of nature's most formidable predators. From the dense forests of Europe to the untamed wilderness of Asia and North America, wild boars have evolved to endure, to fight, and, when necessary, to flee. Their lives are shaped by the relentless pursuit of survival, a struggle against wolves, big cats, and even human hunters. Wolves, one of their most persistent enemies, are highly skilled pack hunters. Their strategy is one of patience, teamwork, and precision. A lone boar is a formidable opponent, but against an organized wolf pack, it faces a dire challenge. Wolves use endurance hunting tactics, chasing a boar for miles until exhaustion sets in. Then, with military-like coordination, they move in, attacking from all sides. But boars are not defenseless. Their powerful bodies, reinforced with thick hide and dense muscle, allow them to take deep bites and keep running. Their intelligence plays a crucial role. Boars will seek out dense thickets or water bodies where wolves struggle to maneuver, turning the hunt into a battle of endurance. Big cats, such as tigers and leopards, present a different kind of danger. Unlike wolves, these apex predators rely on stealth, patience, and an explosive burst of power. A tiger, the largest of all big cats, can weigh over 500 pounds and launch itself at its prey with devastating force. In the forests of India and Southeast Asia, boars must always be on high alert, as a single misstep can mean an instant and brutal end. But these wild pigs are not easy targets. Their acute sense of smell, coupled with sharp hearing, gives them an edge, allowing them to detect a predator long before an attack. If a tiger lunges, the boar's razor-sharp tusks come into play. These weapons, capable of slashing through flesh and muscle, are often the deciding factor in a life-or-death struggle. Many tigers bear the scars of battles with boars, a testament to the sheer ferocity of these animals. Even humans, armed with weapons and strategy, have long hunted boars for their meat and hides. In many parts of the world, boar hunting is not just a sport but a necessity, as these animals can be highly destructive to crops and farmland. Despite advanced hunting techniques, boars continue to evade human hunters using their natural instincts. Their ability to learn from experience, remember safe routes, and even change their patterns of movement makes them one of the most challenging animals to hunt. But how do these creatures decide when to fight and when to flee? The answer lies in their highly developed fight-or-flight response. A boar will typically assess a threat before reacting. If it senses it can outrun its pursuer, it will choose speed. Boars are surprisingly fast for their size, capable of reaching speeds of over 30 miles per hour, making them difficult to catch. Their stamina allows them to run long distances, zigzagging through forests, using the terrain to their advantage. However, when escape is not an option, a boar will turn and fight with a level of aggression that few animals can match. The moment it charges, it becomes a force of raw power. A fully grown male, or boar, can weigh more than 300 pounds, and with its low center of gravity, it can plow through obstacles like an unstoppable battering ram. The tusks, sharp and curved, are their primary weapons. These elongated canines are designed for slashing, stabbing, and inflicting deep wounds. A single strike can rip through a predator's flesh, leaving them severely injured or even fatally wounded. Many wolves, leopards, and even bears have fallen victim to the deadly force of a boar's tusks. One of the most remarkable survival stories comes from the forests of Eastern Europe, where a lone boar was cornered by a pack of wolves. With no option to flee, it stood its ground, using its thick hide to absorb bites while delivering powerful counterattacks. By the time the battle ended, 2 wolves lay dead, and the remaining pack retreated, leaving the boar victorious but wounded. Stories like these highlight the sheer resilience of these creatures. Another legendary tale from the wild comes from Southeast Asia, where a massive male boar found itself stalked by a tiger. Instead of running, it did the unexpected. It charged straight at the predator. The tiger, taken by surprise, hesitated for just a second, and that was all the boar needed. With a violent upward thrust of its tusks, it slashed across the tiger's shoulder, forcing it to retreat. The boar vanished into the dense foliage, proving that sometimes the best defense is a fearless offense. The adaptability of boars is another key to their survival. Unlike many prey animals that rely on a single strategy, boars use a combination of intelligence, memory, and brute force. They remember safe zones, water sources, and predator territories. They can alter their feeding habits and movement patterns to avoid danger. Their ability to learn from encounters, to adjust their behaviors, and to exploit weaknesses in their enemies is what makes them one of the most successful mammals in the wild. In the end, the life of a wild boar is one of constant vigilance. Every rustle in the grass could be a stalking predator. Every shadow could mean danger. And yet they thrive, using their intelligence, speed, and raw power to carve out a place in an unforgiving world. Through centuries of evolution, they have developed the skills and weapons necessary to fight back against the forces that seek to bring them down. And so the battle continues, every single day, in the forests, grasslands, and mountains where these incredible animals call home. Number 2. The ancient lineage of boars. Where did they come from? Wild boars are not just creatures of the present. They are living relics of a time long before human civilization, before towering cities and mechanized farms. Their lineage stretches back millions of years, connecting them to some of the most resilient and adaptable mammals that have ever walked the earth. To understand where boars come from, we have to dive deep into their evolutionary history, tracing their journey across continents, through ancient forests and sweeping grasslands, into the myths and cultures of human civilization. The ancestors of modern boars date back to the early Miocene epoch, roughly 23 million years ago. During this time, the world was vastly different. Thick jungles dominated much of the landscape, and early mammals were still competing for survival in a world shared with massive reptiles and ancient predators. The early relatives of boars belonged to the Suidae family, a group of hoofed mammals that also includes warthogs and domesticated pigs. These early suids were smaller, leaner, and more primitive than the boars we see today, but they already displayed the defining characteristics that would allow their descendants to thrive: a strong sense of smell, omnivorous diets, and an incredible ability to adapt to different environments. As the world's climate shifted over millions of years, so did the boars. They migrated, evolving to survive in new terrains, spreading from their origin point in Eurasia into Africa, Southeast Asia, and eventually North America. Fossil evidence suggests that some of the earliest recognizable wild boars appeared in Europe and Asia several million years ago, adapting to diverse ecosystems ranging from dense forests to open plains. These creatures thrived by eating anything they could find: roots, fruits, small animals, and even carrion, making them some of the most resourceful mammals of their time. Boars played an integral role in human history long before they were domesticated. In ancient times, they were symbols of power, endurance, and ferocity. In Europe, Celtic warriors saw the boar as a representation of fearlessness, often engraving its image on their weapons and armor. In Norse mythology, the god Freyr rode a golden boar named Gullinbursti, a beast said to shine like the sun and never tire. Meanwhile, in Asia, boars were both revered and feared. In Japan, they were associated with courage and prosperity, while in China, they were seen as signs of abundance and stubborn strength. But despite this admiration, boars were also a major source of food for early humans. They were among the first animals hunted for their meat and hides. Archaeological evidence suggests that humans began domesticating wild boars around 9,000 years ago, in regions that are now modern-day Turkey and China. Over generations, selective breeding transformed these wild creatures into what we now recognize as domesticated pigs. These early domestic pigs spread alongside human civilizations, traveling with traders and settlers, eventually reaching Europe, Africa, and the Americas. The pigs that we see on farms today, though vastly different in appearance, still share much of their DNA with their wild ancestors, carrying traces of their ancient lineage in every genetic strand. Despite this domestication, wild boars never disappeared. They remained a formidable force in the wild, adapting to changing landscapes and resisting extinction. Even as human civilization expanded, cutting down forests and replacing wildlands with cities and farmland, boars found ways to survive. They remain one of the most widespread and successful large mammals in the world, their populations continuing to grow in regions where they were once thought to be in decline. Their survival is not just a testament to their resilience. It is proof of their ancient and unbroken connection to the natural world. Boars have outlasted ice ages, mass extinctions, and human expansion. They are living fossils, walking reminders of a time when the earth was wilder and untamed. And despite being hunted, domesticated, and even feared, they continue to thrive, roaming the forests and grasslands of the world as they have for millions of years. Number 3. The science behind boar tusks. More than just weapons. A boar's tusks are not just weapons, they are masterpieces of evolution. Tools refined by nature over millions of years for survival, dominance, and communication. These curved, razor-sharp structures are far more than mere teeth. They are instruments of war, symbols of status, and essential lifelines that define the very existence of a wild boar. Their presence can mean the difference between life and death, ensuring survival in a world where every day is a battle against predators, rivals, and the relentless forces of nature. Tusks are actually elongated canine teeth continuously growing throughout a boar's life. But unlike human teeth, which wear down over time, a boar's tusks possess a unique, self-sharpening mechanism. The secret lies in the way they are structured. Males, known as boars, have both upper and lower tusks, but it is the lower ones, often called cutters, that hold the deadliest edge. These cutters rub against the upper tusks, which are called whetters, in a natural grinding motion every time the boar opens and closes its mouth. This process sharpens the lower tusks like a knife against a whetstone, ensuring that they are always razor-sharp and ready for combat. No matter how many battles a boar fights, no matter how many obstacles it faces, its weapons are always honed to perfection, a built-in survival mechanism that never dulls. But tusks are not only for fighting. They serve multiple purposes, each just as crucial as the last. In the dense forests and open plains where boars roam, their tusks become tools of survival, used for digging up roots, breaking apart tough vegetation, and even carving through hard-packed earth in search of food. This ability to forage deeply into the ground gives boars access to food sources that many other animals cannot reach. In times of scarcity, when fruits and nuts are not readily available, tusks become lifelines, helping boars unearth hidden reserves of sustenance that can keep them alive through the harshest seasons. Yet for all their practical uses, the most dramatic function of a boar's tusks is in combat. Male boars engage in fierce battles for territory, mates, and dominance within their groups. When two rival boars clash, they do not simply bite or shove. They use their tusks as weapons of war. These fights are brutal, often leaving deep gashes and severe wounds that can determine the fate of the weaker opponent. The sheer force behind a charging boar, combined with the precision of its sharpened cutters, can be devastating. One well-placed slash can incapacitate an opponent instantly, and in some cases, these fights end in fatal injuries. Interestingly, while both male and female boars possess tusks, the differences between them are significant. In females, the tusks are much smaller, growing at a slower rate and lacking the aggressive curvature seen in males. This is because female boars, or sows, do not engage in the same high-stakes battles for dominance. Their tusks are still useful for foraging and self-defense, but they do not develop into the formidable weapons seen in their male counterparts. The sheer size and power of a male boar's tusks are a direct result of its need to fight and establish its place in the hierarchy of the wild. But what happens if a boar loses its tusks? Can it survive without them? The answer depends on the circumstances. A young boar that loses its tusks early in life faces immense challenges. Without its primary weapons, it struggles to defend itself against predators such as wolves, big cats, and even humans. It also faces difficulty in competing with other males for mates, as the display of large, well-developed tusks is a sign of strength and virility. A tuskless boar is often forced to adopt a more evasive lifestyle, relying on speed and cunning rather than brute force. However, boars are remarkably adaptable creatures, and in some cases even those without tusks find ways to survive though they may never achieve the same dominance as their fully armed counterparts. Tusks define the wild boar in ways that go beyond physicality. They are symbols of power, tools of survival, and relics of an ancient past where only the strongest endured. Every scar on a boar's body tells the story of a battle fought, a struggle won, or a lesson learned. These curved blades of bone and enamel are nature's way of ensuring that boars remain formidable, resilient, and ever ready to face the challenges of the untamed world they call home. Number 4. The secret lives of boars, mating, family, and reproduction. The world of wild boars is one of intense battles, fierce competition, and deep family bonds. These creatures may appear rugged and untamed, but their lives are shaped by powerful instincts, strategic decision-making, and an intricate social structure that ensures the survival of their species. The journey of a boar's life, from birth to adulthood, is filled with challenges, and most resilient make it through. For male boars, also known as boars or boar hogs, the path to reproduction is anything but easy. When the mating season arrives, competition among males becomes brutal. A boar's dominance is not decided through simple displays of aggression. It is fought for in intense, high-stakes battles. Two rival males will size each other up, circling and testing the other's resolve. Their thick, muscular bodies brace for impact as they charge at full speed, tusks slashing and bodies colliding in a display of raw power. These fights are not just for show. Serious injuries are common, and sometimes one combatant may not survive. The stronger boar, the one with the sharpest tusks, the most endurance, and the ability to outlast its opponent, earns the right to mate with the females in the area. Females, known as sows, are highly selective. They do not simply accept the first male that approaches them. Instead, they seek out the strongest, most dominant boar, ensuring that their offspring inherit the best possible genetic traits for survival. In the wild, strength is everything, and natural selection plays out in real time through these intense mating competitions. Once a female has mated with a dominant male, the next stage of the boar's reproductive cycle begins, a rapid and efficient process that ensures the survival of the species. The gestation period of a sow is incredibly short, lasting only a few months. This quick turnaround allows boars to reproduce at an astonishing rate, keeping their population stable even in harsh conditions where predators and natural threats claim many lives. When the time comes to give birth, a sow retreats into a secluded area, often hidden deep within the undergrowth. Here, she constructs a nest from leaves, grass, and other soft materials, creating a safe and comfortable environment for her young. Unlike many other wild animals that give birth to only a few offspring at a time, wild boars are prolific breeders. A single litter can contain a dozen or more piglets, each born with distinctive stripes running along their small, fragile bodies. These stripes act as natural camouflage, helping them blend into the dense forest floor, shielding them from the watchful eyes of predators. But birth is only the beginning of the struggle. In the wild, survival is never guaranteed, and for baby boars, the odds are stacked against them. Predators such as wolves, big cats, and birds of prey constantly threaten their existence. Even adult boars are wary of danger, but for newborn piglets, every moment is a test of survival. A mother boar is fiercely protective, standing guard over her young with unwavering vigilance. If a predator comes too close, she will charge without hesitation, using her sharp tusks and immense strength to fend off any threat. She communicates with her piglets using a series of grunts and vocalizations, guiding them through the dangers of their environment. But despite a mother's best efforts, not all piglets make it to adulthood. The wild is unforgiving, and many fall victim to predators, harsh weather conditions, or food shortages before they ever reach maturity. For those that do survive, the challenges do not end. As they grow, young boars must learn the skills necessary for survival: how to find food, how to navigate their territory, and for males, how to prepare for the inevitable battles of adulthood. They remain with their mother for several months, forming tight-knit family units that move together through the wilderness. Over time, the stripes of the piglets fade, their bodies grow stronger, and the males begin to develop the tusks that will define their future battles for dominance. The secret lives of boars are filled with struggle, instinct, and survival. From the brutal fights of the males to the relentless protection of the mothers, every aspect of their existence is shaped by the forces of nature. These animals are more than just wild creatures roaming the forests. They are survivors, warriors, and guardians of an ancient lineage that has endured for thousands of years. Number 5. What's on the menu? The boar's surprising diet. The wild boar is a creature of immense adaptability, a survivor capable of thriving in diverse environments, from dense forests to open grasslands. and even human-inhabited areas. At the heart of its resilience lies one key factor: its diet. Unlike specialized predators that rely solely on meat or herbivores that graze only on plants, the wild boar is an omnivore in the truest sense. It eats almost anything it can find, making it one of the most opportunistic feeders in the animal kingdom. A boar's menu is vast and ever-changing, shaped by the seasons, the availability of food, and the environment it inhabits. While many might assume that boars primarily feed on roots, nuts, and fruits, the reality is far more complex. These animals are not just foragers. They are skilled hunters, scavengers, and even, at times, ruthless carnivores. Their diet is a mix of plant-based and animal-based foods, and their ability to consume such a wide variety of sustenance is what makes them such a successful species. The secret weapon of a wild boar is its incredibly powerful snout. This is not just an ordinary nose. It is a precision tool, a built-in radar designed for seeking out food. A boar's sense of smell is many times more powerful than that of a human, capable of detecting scents buried deep beneath the ground. It can sniff out underground roots, tubers, fungi, and even the larvae of insects hidden in the soil. With a single swipe of its strong, shovel-like snout, a boar can uproot an entire patch of earth, unearthing hidden food sources that other animals might never detect. Boars are known as ecosystem engineers because of the way they interact with their environment. Every time they dig for food, they disrupt the soil, turning over layers of earth and helping to aerate it. In doing so, they mix nutrients into the soil, much like a natural plow, improving plant growth and foraging biodiversity. Their constant movement and foraging habits also help scatter seeds, allowing forests to regenerate and plant life to spread. However, this ability to reshape the land is a double-edged sword. While in natural forests, their foraging helps ecosystems thrive. In farmlands, their presence can be devastating. A group of wild boars can tear through a field in a single night, destroying crops, uprooting vegetation, and causing extensive damage to human agriculture. But what many do not realize is that boars are not just plant eaters. They are fully capable of consuming meat, and in some cases they actively seek it out. Small animals, birds, eggs, amphibians, and even reptiles can all become part of a boar's diet. They will eat carrion, feasting on the remains of dead animals left behind by other predators. In times of scarcity, they may even turn on their own kind, engaging in cannibalistic behavior, consuming weak or dead members of their own species to ensure their own survival. This shocking dietary adaptability places them among the most unpredictable omnivores in nature. Their ability to eat meat also makes them a concern for local wildlife. In certain areas, wild boars have been known to raid bird nests, consuming eggs and even hatchlings. They can decimate amphibian populations by feeding on frogs and salamanders, and their appetite for insects and invertebrates means they compete with other species for food. Their presence can disrupt delicate ecological balances, causing shifts in food chains and altering ecosystems in ways that scientists are still trying to fully understand. For farmers, the impact of wild boars on agriculture is undeniable. Their love for root vegetables, grains, and fruits makes them a menace to crops. They do not simply eat what they find, they destroy fields in the process, digging deep into the earth and trampling everything in their path. In many regions, wild boars are considered an invasive species, their growing populations posing a direct threat to agricultural economies. Some farmers resort to electric fencing, while others turn to controlled hunting as a means of population control. But despite human efforts to limit their numbers, wild boars continue to thrive, adapting and expanding into new territories at an astonishing rate. The diet of a wild boar is a testament to its survival instincts. Whether it is digging up roots, consuming small animals, or raiding farmland, it does whatever it takes to sustain itself. It is not bound by limitations, it adapts, it overcomes, and it endures. This is why, despite human intervention, habitat loss, and predators, wild boars remain one of the most successful and widespread mammals in the world. Their ability to eat almost anything ensures that no matter where they go, they will find a way to survive. Number 6. How long do boars live? The harsh reality. The lifespan of a wild boar is a battle against the elements, predators, disease, and, most of all, humans. In the untamed wilderness, life is unforgiving, and for a species as adaptable and resilient as the boar, survival is still a daily struggle. While many assume that these creatures can live for decades, the truth is that most wild boars never reach old age. Their average lifespan in the wild is shockingly short, typically between 4 to 10 years. But in the right conditions, under protection from external threats, a boar's body has the potential to endure far longer. In captivity, where food is plentiful, veterinary care is available, and predators are non-existent, wild boars can live well past a decade. Some have even reached the remarkable age of 20 years. But the reality of a boar's life outside of enclosures is vastly different. The wilderness is unpredictable, filled with dangers that lurk around every corner. Predators such as wolves, tigers, and large birds of prey target boars, particularly the young, who are the easiest to catch. Even adult boars, despite their strength and aggression, can fall victim to an ambush from a well-coordinated pack of predators. However, the biggest threat to a boar's life is not its natural enemies. It is disease, food scarcity, and human activity. Infections, parasites, and viruses spread quickly in boar populations, wiping out entire groups before they even reach adulthood. In some regions, diseases like swine fever have decimated boar numbers, and since these animals are social, infections pass rapidly among them. Malnutrition also plays a role, particularly in environments where food is seasonal. During winter or periods of drought, boars that fail to find enough sustenance weaken, making them vulnerable to attacks or illness. But nothing has had a greater impact on wild boar populations than the expansion of human civilization. Habitat destruction is forcing these animals into smaller and smaller territories, leaving them with fewer places to hide, forage, and breed. Forests that once provided shelter and abundant food are now cleared for agriculture and urban development. Boars that once roamed freely now find themselves cornered, forced to venture into human settlements in search of food, leading to increased conflicts between them and people. Hunting has also drastically reduced boar populations in many parts of the world. In some countries, boars are hunted for sport, their tusks and hides seen as prized trophies. In others, they are killed as pests, targeted because of the damage they cause to crops and farmlands. With modern hunting techniques, including thermal imaging and tracking devices, humans have become the ultimate predator, making it nearly impossible for a boar to evade capture once it has been marked. Unlike natural predators, who typically kill only what they need to survive, human hunting is relentless, with thousands of boars killed annually. Despite these challenges, some boars do manage to defy the odds and reach an advanced age. These are usually the most cunning, the ones that have learned to avoid humans, outmaneuver predators, and find consistent sources of food. Their survival is not just a matter of physical strength, but intelligence. Boars that live the longest are often the ones that have mastered the art of evasion. The rare cases of boars living up to 20 years are mostly observed in protected environments such as wildlife reserves and sanctuaries, where they are shielded from the threats that plague their wild counterparts. In these controlled spaces, they are able to reach their full lifespan potential, displaying behaviors and characteristics that are rarely seen in wild populations. However, in the grand scheme of things, such cases are exceptions rather than the rule. The average boar, no matter how strong or smart, is unlikely to escape the fate that nature and humanity has placed upon it. Ultimately, the lifespan of a wild boar is dictated by the environment it lives in. While it possesses the biological capability to live for nearly 2 decades, the reality of its world means that most will never come close to that milestone. The wild is cruel, the threats are endless, and only the most resilient manage to see old age. Number 7, the future of boars, survival or extinction. The future of wild boars is unfolding in 2 very different realities. In some parts of the world, their populations are growing at an astonishing rate, spreading into new territories and even thriving in urban environments. But in other regions, their numbers are dwindling, threatened by relentless hunting, habitat destruction, and environmental changes that make survival harder than ever before. The question remains, are wild boars on a path to long-term survival, or could they one day face extinction? For centuries, wild boars have been among the most adaptable animals on the planet. They have survived in dense forests, open plains, swamps, and mountains. They have endured freezing winters and scorching summers, finding ways to sustain themselves even in the harshest of conditions. This adaptability has allowed them to flourish in many parts of Europe, Asia, and North America, where they have even expanded into urban landscapes. Cities like Berlin, Tokyo, and even some areas of the United States have reported an increasing number of wild boars invading streets, parks, and suburban neighborhoods. Why are these animals moving into human territories? The answer lies in their intelligence and ability to exploit new environments. As humans continue to expand into what was once boar territory, these animals are forced to adapt. Trash bins, farms, and gardens provide easy access to food, making urban areas an attractive alternative to the forests they once called home. Some boars have even learned to navigate roads and traffic, appearing late at night to scavenge and disappearing before daylight. But while some populations are thriving, others are disappearing at an alarming rate. In parts of Asia and Europe, where wild boars once roamed freely, they are now hunted aggressively. In some cases, they are killed to control their growing numbers, as they are seen as a nuisance that damages crops and disrupts farmland. In other areas, they are hunted for sport or for their meat. The commercial demand for wild boar meat has led to organized hunting operations, further reducing their numbers in certain regions. The conflict between humans and wild boars is intensifying. Farmers lose entire fields of crops overnight as boars tear through them in search of food. In cities, they are seen as dangerous, unpredictable animals that can injure people or cause road accidents. Governments in many countries have introduced culling programs, authorizing the mass killing of boars to reduce their impact on human populations. But this raises an important question. Should wild boars be treated as pests, or do they have an important role to play in the ecosystem? Scientists argue that wild boars are more than just an invasive species. They are what ecologists call ecosystem engineers. Their foraging behavior turns over the soil, helping plant life regenerate. They disperse seeds and contribute to the health of forests by controlling certain insect populations. Without boars, some ecosystems would face long-term imbalances. But as human expansion continues, the delicate balance between nature and civilization is being disrupted, leaving wild boars with fewer places to survive. Another major threat to boar populations is climate change. Rising temperatures, shifting weather patterns, and changing food availability are altering their habitats. In some regions, food sources that boars rely on, such as acorns and roots, are becoming scarcer due to extreme weather events. Droughts make it harder for boars to find water, and warmer winters allow diseases and parasites to spread more easily within their populations. This combination of environmental stressors is putting pressure on boars in ways they have never faced before. So, what is being done to protect these animals? Conservation efforts vary widely across the world. In some regions, hunting regulations have been introduced to prevent overhunting, limiting the number of boars that can be killed each season. Some wildlife reserves have been established to provide safe havens where boars can live without the constant threat of human interference. Scientists are also studying ways to manage boar populations without resorting to culling, such as using non-lethal birth control methods. Despite these efforts, the future of wild boars remains uncertain. While they are not currently classified as an endangered species, some subspecies of boars are already at risk due to habitat loss and hunting. If current trends continue, certain populations could decline to the point of extinction. The reality is that wild boars are at a crossroads. If conservation efforts are not taken seriously, and if human-boar conflicts continue to escalate, these animals could face a very different future in the coming decades. For now, wild boars remain one of the most resilient creatures in the animal kingdom. Their intelligence, adaptability, and sheer determination have allowed them to survive in environments that would be impossible for many other species. But as the world around them continues to change, the ultimate question remains: will they be able to adapt once again, or are they running out of time? Wild boars are a species caught between survival and struggle, thriving in some parts of the world while being hunted, displaced, or exterminated in others. They are a symbol of resilience, intelligence, and adaptability, able to navigate dense forests, vast grasslands, rugged mountains, and even the edges of human civilization. But the question that remains is whether they will continue to exist in the wild for future generations, or if their populations will dwindle under the pressures of human expansion, environmental changes, and increasing conflict. For centuries, wild boars have played a critical role in the ecosystems they inhabit. As omnivores, they regulate plant growth, disperse seeds, and even help maintain soil health by turning over the earth as they forage. Their presence in forests and wetlands is not just incidental, it's essential. Yet, they are often viewed as pests, nuisances, or threats, rather than as an integral part of the natural world. Their rapid reproduction, combined with their intelligence and adaptability, has made them a species that can either thrive or be aggressively culled, depending on how humans choose to perceive them. The reality is that wild boars are not the enemy. They do not intentionally destroy crops, invade cities, or disrupt human life out of malice. They are simply animals trying to survive in a world that is changing faster than ever before. As forests are cleared, farmlands expand, and urban areas sprawl into natural habitats, boars are left with fewer places to live, forcing them to find food and shelter wherever they can. In many ways, their increasing presence in human environments is not a sign of their aggression, but of their desperation. But what does the future hold for them? If current trends continue, we may see an even greater divide between regions where boars are flourishing and those where they are being wiped out. Climate change is already reshaping their habitats, making food sources less predictable and increasing the spread of diseases that threaten their survival. Hunting pressure in some areas remains relentless, with governments sanctioning large-scale culling programs to control their numbers. And as human populations grow, the spaces available for wild boars to roam freely shrink, year after year. Despite these challenges, there is hope. Conservation efforts, when implemented correctly, have the power to protect wild boars while also addressing the concerns of farmers and communities affected by their presence. Ethical population control methods, habitat preservation, and better management strategies could allow humans and boars to coexist without resorting to mass extermination. The key is understanding that wildlife is not an inconvenience. It is a vital part of the world's ecological balance. So, what can be done? Education plays a crucial role. Understanding the importance of wild boars and their ecosystems can shift the perception of these animals from that of a pest to a valuable species worthy of protection. Governments, conservationists, and local communities must work together to find solutions that benefit both people and wildlife. This could mean creating designated wildlife corridors to reduce human-boar conflicts, implementing smarter farming practices to deter boars from crops without resorting to lethal measures, and promoting responsible hunting regulations to prevent overexploitation. But it's not just up to scientists and policymakers. Every individual has a role to play in shaping the future of wildlife. Supporting conservation initiatives, spreading awareness, and advocating for ethical treatment of animals can make a difference. The decisions made today will determine whether future generations will see wild boars roaming freely in forests and fields, or only read about them in history books. Wild boars have survived for thousands of years, adapting to an ever-changing world. But survival is not guaranteed. As their habitats disappear, as climate shifts, as hunting intensifies, their fate hangs in the balance. The choice is ours. Will we allow wild boars to be pushed to the brink, or will we recognize their value and ensure they have a future in the natural world? The answer lies not in fear, not in eradication, but in coexistence, understanding, and respect for one of nature's most fascinating and misunderstood creatures.